Jack Busby is a nationalist from the Northwest who's at university at Liverpool, and he's recently been outed by the horrible, spiteful Reds as a nationalist. They did the same to me when I was at Cambridge back in the 1970s. So they're spiteful, horrible people, and it does put some psychological pressure on you. But Jack is obviously one of those who's stood up to that, because he's still carrying on with the initiative that he's and some colleagues are involved in. So I'd like you to, Jack, come up here and tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the National Culturists. Thank you.
Right, apologies if this is a little bit muddled. I obviously wasn't expecting to do this. Basically, I'm a student at the University of Liverpool, which Nick said to me before is actually quite a red university, and I have noticed quite a large presence there. But I think there are ways that we can get past this. I noticed that, and indeed many people I'm sure have noticed as well, that whilst nationalism is the cause that we need to fight, the issue we've got is that young people don't associate with the word. So as long as we keep the ideology, it doesn't really matter what kind of word we use. It's obviously all about spin. So I did some research and I found a man called Jonathan Press, and he's actually from the Tea Party in the US. And he heads up this idea of something called culturism. And culturism is basically the direct opposite of multiculturalism. So I thought if we could utilise a word like this and an ideology which is so important to nationalism anyway, then there's perhaps a better chance that we can get young people involved with movements like the British National Party. We see on the streets there are people, young people particularly, joining the likes of the EDL, but what we don't see is people in universities and people at academic levels using the resources provided by universities to promote their message. They do it for the Labour Party, they do it for the Lib Dems, but they don't do it for nationalism. And that's partly because of the no platform policies for the likes of the BNP. So my proposal has been to create societies within universities under the National Culturist brand. And so far, from speaking to perhaps one of the most read universities in the country, there's no ban on us setting one up, and there should be no issue with us setting one up at all. What that means is we can address people at freshers' fairs, we can set up societies, and even possibly get funding from the universities. Another concept we came up with is using the tactics and the language of the left, because the left are more successful in universities and with students than we are. It's sad, but it's true. So it's my belief that if we can use the systems that they use, i.e. the universities, but also use their language, then we can perhaps become more, well, respected. So of course, we know here we're not racist people. We don't hate anyone of a particular race. We just believe in identity and preserving those identities. So if we came up with this, sorry I haven't got it on the big screen, it's called Love Culture, Hate Racism, and that's one of our first campaigns. Of course, we're only a month old, we've got barely any money, but we've all pulled together. I've got a small team involved with creating everything, and then we've got about 160 people following it at the moment. But it all depends how it goes in the next month when we're going to open our first branch. But the idea behind Love Culture, Hate Racism means that even if we're attacked by the left, our simple response is, well, we hate racism, we're campaigning against racism as well. People can immediately respond to it because they understand it. People aren't racist. People who vote for the BNP aren't racist because we don't hate anyone. So if we use language that they understand, I think that's the best way to move forward. Of course, one of the problems we've got is the fact that people don't respond to negative campaigning. We touched on this before when we talk about providing simple answers. We noticed that if we carry on using negative campaigning, people will look upon the organisation as a negative thing. So if we can campaign about loving culture, loving Britain, just like the new logos for the party do, then that's probably the best way to attract people. But finally, I won't keep you too long, it's worth mentioning that nationalism in Britain is very much divided. We do have a problem whereby there are new splinter groups appearing everywhere, there are new parties appearing everywhere. So, of course, the large support that we do actually have is now getting split up. So I think the best way to do this is to have a middleman. If we can have an organisation, perhaps the National Culturists, if we can grow, if we can develop. If we can act as a middleman, introduce young people to these concepts of nationalism and social conservatism and culturism, then they will be able to use the knowledge that they learned to find a party that suits them. And I hope that that will be the British National Party. Thank you.